Welcome back to High School Backups Podcast. My name is Jake. I'm here with Kyle and Nick, and we're continuing our free agency grades prior to the draft. We're going to be talking about the AFC South here today, a group that has done less than our previous video on the AFC East. And honestly, I'm just going to jump right into it. The Colts get a C plus from me. They lost Frank Reich as their head coach, replaced him with Jeff Saturday, and then replaced him with Shane Steichen. I do think the Shane Steichen hire is going to be good for them. And they also hired, a legendary name in Bob Cooter as their offensive coordinator, so that got them some brownie points. They haven't really added anybody, and obviously, again, looking forward to the draft, they're going to be adding their quarterback, but they haven't really improved the roster from what was a struggling team last year. And they lost Bobby Okereke and Paris Campbell. They've essentially just added depth pieces: Isaiah McKenzie, Gardner Minshew, and Taven Bryan. So just a C plus for me. I don't love it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, they free agency wasn't where they're growing this year, so there's really not a lot to say. They lost out in the Derek Carr race, probably Jimmy Garoppolo as well. Really not much to say here. They do have great.
They may be drafting Anthony Richardson. Who knows?
Yeah, I'll be honest, C minus for me.
I was just gonna say definite C minus for me. Losing Paris Campbell and Bobby Okereke. Thank you, Colts. I will love both of those players in the Giants uniform.
Oh my god!
But also losing Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, they lost Stephon Gilmore too.
Granted, Gilmore wasn't amazing for them, but that's still a big piece for them because it also brings a lot of leadership. And bringing in Isaiah McKenzie to me is just weird. What is he really?
He's Paris Campbell.
Yeah, he's your Paris Campbell replacement.
But he's not as good as Paris Campbell, really. So, I don't know. Him being your wide receiver 2 to me is just weird. I don't know. But C minus for me on the Colts.
Them moving off Stephon Gilmore makes sense to me. They're trying to get younger, so I was just like, yeah. He didn't really produce over in Indy anyway. The Jaguars, I'm giving a C. I mean, they lost Arden Key and Jawan Taylor. It wasn't wonderful. They did add Dearness Johnson and re-sign Evan Ingram, which I think is a bigger move than a lot of people are talking about, because Evan Ingram is productive with Trevor Lawrence as his quarterback. So it's a straight C. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I think losing Arden Key is a little bit more, a little bit worse than losing Jawan Taylor, but it is what it is.
I'm insulted.
Why?
Evan Ingram move should make this an A plus no matter what.
Bro, what the
go. Evan Ingram's the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
Oh my lord.
I think this is right on par, to be frank, or maybe a C minus. Because a C is they either did nothing to improve their team, or I think a C is they did nothing to improve their team, but nothing that made their team worse, right?
Yeah.
Whereas anything lower is they suck now, or anything higher is they did stuff to improve.
So. Okay, that's fair.
Wow, I think you guys are kind of underselling. I was gonna give him a C plus B minus actually. Only because that Evan Ingram re-signing is actually really big for the Jaguars.
Whoa!
Okay, well, first of all, I agree. I just realized and remembered that although this didn't happen this season, Calvin Ridley is technically back.
This might be
that's
fair. That's better. That's a little better.
Stole the words that I was about to come out of my mouth.
Sorry, Kyle.
God damn it. But anyway, so the Evan Ingram re-signing is massive, but as Nick said before Calvin Ridley's coming back, and he's going to be a full-blown addition for the Jaguars. So that's obviously
that's fair.
I'm not going to full-blown and say A minus because we don't know how Calvin Ridley's going to do after having a year off in a brand new system. He could have absolutely shit the bed and be awful. We don't know 100%, but from what we know he did in Atlanta, he should ball out with Trevor Lawrence as his quarterback. It shouldn't not happen. And I think Jacksonville to me didn't really get worse. I don't know. I don't think their losses are Jawan Taylor's probably their biggest loss, and I don't think it's that massive of a loss, to be honest.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they'll be better because they have Calvin Ridley and Evan Ingram. They re-signed him, so that's cool. But it doesn't make him better if he's already good. He was already there last year. So
Calvin Ridley wasn't.
I agree. So I think that's B. I think B minus is fair. I think that's
That's
fair.
fair. That's fair. Moving right into the Titans, I gave them a B minus. The new offensive coordinator again. I don't love that. But it is what it is. They did add Andre Dillard and Arden Key, which I think is a sneaky signing. They added Azeez Al-Shaair, which I think is a sneaky signing, and they improved their secondary with Sean Murphy Bunting. They did lose a lot of players, but I think it's because of the direction they're going. They lost a lot of older players. Outside of Nate Davis, I mean, getting rid of Robert Woods, Austin Hooper, and Taylor Lewan all show a direction, at least for the Tennessee Titans. And I think that is more important than them necessarily getting better.
Yes. My only issue is I think that their biggest loss here is David Long, who's been their tackle leader the last 5 years.
Okay.
David Long Jr. I play IDP leagues, and he is always a top, he's one of the first linebackers picked every year. So that's a huge loss for them. Also, what I noticed very quickly here is that their focus was on getting their defense better and letting their offense age down, just like you said, which makes me a little worried because that makes me feel like there's going to be a couple of years before they're where they want to be. But for now, their defense is going to be gross. So, and then Mike Vrabel, so.
Facts.
I was giving Titans kind of a slight less. I was giving them a C plus grade. Because I don't really love the addition of Andre Dillard, to be honest. He struggled in Philly. Was he even a starter for them right away?
He was picked as a
starter last year.
I think so. He was picked as a developmental guy, and then I think he became a pretty decent offensive lineman.
I didn't think he started for them, but I could be wrong there. But I could be. But I also agree with Nick that loss on David Long is pretty big.
Okay, I'll move him down to a C+.
Yeah, played C+.
I'm finding out the answer, by the way, about that. He's played for 4 years. That's not helpful. Stats. Let's see. How many games did he play?
While Nick pulls that up,
he did not start at any games last season.
Okay, he didn't start last year.
All right.
He started 9 games total in his career.
Okay.
5 one season, 4 another.
That's a big gamble to take on a player who didn't start.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still willing to say it's a decent move. I think, again, they needed to get younger on offense, and that is a move to get younger on offense.
Here's the thing: if this was focused on defense, it'd be an A+.
Yeah, it's a fact.
It'd be an A+. But the fact that there's no offense here, it's it might be a D.
Again, their draft could affect this too. I think they could end up having a really good draft given their position and stuff. But moving right along to the Texans, I gave them a B-. I really like Leslie Frazier. I thought he did a good job last year, and honestly, screwing them out of the number 1 overall pick on his way out was kind of a GOAT move. I like D'Amico Ryans too. I like that. They did hire the 49ers offensive coach as their offensive coordinator, which I think in today's NFL is always a good move. The reason that this is a B- is I can't tell which direction the Texans want to go. Because they're adding a lot of guys that it's we're win now. But also we all know the Texans aren't win now. We know for a fact. They added
a lot of mid.
They added Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz, Corey Littleton.
Dalton Schultz is not mid, though.
Dalton Schultz is the only not mid person on this list.
Sheldon Rankins, Jimmy Ward, all these weird older vets that's we're ready to win now. But in reality, you're not. You also traded away Brandon Cooks. If you were ready to win now and that's the direction you were going, you wouldn't have done that. You traded away, or you lost O.J. Howard and you lost Okoronkwo. I forget. I literally just tried to.
Close enough.
It's close enough. It's a B- offseason. I think your team is improved, but you're not ready to win now, so why are you trying to act like you are?
So I don't hate your grade. I was gonna bump it up very slightly to just a B, and the only reason is I don't think they're necessarily trying to win now. I think they're trying to just be a little competitive and kind of be like last year's Lions. Last year's Lions, I felt like coming into the season, we all had kind of decent hopes on them. Oh yeah, these guys are gonna be sneaky good. We kind of exactly. We all liked what the Lions were doing last year. Granted, the Lions were a lot younger. They had a better coach. We don't really know how their head coach is going to be, but I think the Texans, what their kind of aim is, kind of to just be a sneaky team, not necessarily trying to win and be a super competitive and be a Super Bowl favorite, but also not trying to lose. I like these additions to kind of help with building a locker room type thing, kind of like what the Giants did their offseason last year. They built their free agency moves last year made zero fucking sense looking into it, but it worked to build a good locker room, and the Giants did good this year. I think that's kind of similar to where the Texans are going, trying to build a good locker room. I'm not seeing the Texans are going to be competitive. I'm not saying they're going to suck either, though. I think this is I think a B- grade is perfect for the Texans as possible because not only they should, barring any major development issues, John Mechie should be able to come back.
Yeah. And I mean, to your point, Kyle, I think the Giants are the exception, not the rule. So, like, I get the merit, but I think the Texans are chasing an exception rather than a rule, and I don't love that. Nick, what are your thoughts?
My only thing I want to say here, to be frank, a lot of these, it's really all mid, and then Dalton Schultz is one of the best tight ends in the league last couple of years. He's been great. Denzel Perriman and Corey Littleton were the number 1, number 2 linebackers in Las Vegas, and they, how do I say this? They just tackle a lot, but they're not very dominant. As we've seen with the Raiders defense the last couple of years. So that doesn't scream. That definitely screams upgrade. It doesn't scream to me best, good defense.
No.
So yeah, it's kind of mid. I think a B- is fine. Really, Dalton Schultz is what gives him a B-. I mean, Robert Woods could be cool, but I think Brandon Cooks is significantly better than Robert Woods. So.
Yeah, that's fair. And so, just running through the AFC South, we got the Colts at a C+, the Jaguars at a B- because of Calvin Ridley's reinstatement, the Titans at a C+, and the Texans at a B-. And on that note, make sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms. We're High School Backups at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And on that note, peace.